Welcome to the Produce Moms Podcast, where we believe there is a produce mom in all of us. I'm Lori Taylor, founder and CEO of the Produce Moms. For 10 years, I sold fresh produce to over 300 grocery stores in the U.S. And today, my team and I are fully focused on inspiring people to eat more fruits and vegetables. This show is just one of the ways that we hope to inspire you and your family to eat more produce and live a better life. If you like what you're hearing on the podcast, join our community of almost 40,000 in all 50 states and over 30 countries by visiting theproducemoms.com/subscribe. And be sure to subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes. Thanks for being here. Enjoy today's show. Welcome back, everyone. This is the Produce Moms Podcast. My name is Lori Taylor. I'm the founder of the Produce Moms, the host of this show. And don't you just love this show? I love this show. I know you do too. I'm so grateful that you're tuning in today. Thank you so much. And wow, we are welcoming back the very first guest that we ever had on the Produce Moms Podcast. That's right. We are welcoming back Lisa Helfman. She is episode 2. Episode 1 is just me in a solo episode introducing and kicking off this entire podcast. And Lisa is a woman who is behind an organization that I so believe in, so much to the point when I was putting together this podcast in 2018, and I had to put down my wish list for our very first guest. It was her. So to say this is a special guest and this is a special episode is truly a huge understatement. It's just amazing to welcome Lisa back. She is the founder and board chair of Brighter Bites. And for those of you who've been following along, we have profiled Brighter Bites on our website here on this podcast. We're big believers in what we do. We are very proud to be a supporting partner with Brighter Bites. And they're all about, their mission is to create communities of health through fresh food. So that has not changed. But as we all know, a lot has changed since 2018. So it is overdue that we welcome back to the show, Lisa Helfman. Lisa, my friend, and someone who I admire so much, welcome back to the show. We are so glad you're here.
Thanks, Lori. I hope I can live up to that introduction. That was a real wow for me.
Oh, well, you're the best. And I'm so pleased to welcome you back. And truly what you have created, when I started this show in 2018, I was really focused on, hey, I want to spotlight people that are doing work that matters the most. For our longstanding listeners, they've heard me say that time after time again. You were at the top of my mind when I put that, ethos together and wanted to make that the foundation of this show's culture. And of course, I still believe that with my whole heart. Lisa, you are doing work that matters the most. So please tell people a little bit more about your professional history and how that led you to Brighter Bites.
I'd be happy to. Oftentimes people come to me for career advice because I have reinvented myself so many times throughout my career, but it was always unintentional and yet I think not a coincidence. And what I mean by that is I actually started my career as a lawyer. Before law school, I worked at the Capitol for a member of Congress, and I went to law school wanting to change the world and went to work for a large law firm helping nonprofits and government entities in public finance. So I, really got a good vantage point into the business of nonprofits, including schools. And particularly I worked with one big charter school movement that's across the country called KIPP, K-I-P-P, the Knowledge is Power program. And I think that really helped me create Brighter Bites in my head and just understand. From there, from the law firm, I went to work at one of their clients, Texas Children's Hospital, which happens to be the largest children's hospital in the country with a very large integrated delivery system with a lot of clinics in the community, as well as large hospitals to treat kids. And I went from an attorney to building a real estate department for them. And it gave me the vantage point of looking at the entire healthcare system. And when I did that, I noticed what was glaringly missing, and that was preventing illness. In fact, the big giving campaign when I left was Heal Sick Children. Mm-hmm. And I think that kind of says it all, mm-hmm. that they're very focused on healing them, but not preventing illness. And to me, the way to prevent illness is through fresh food. And that I'd had my own journey in my own house with that. And one day my son, Drew, who's now 16 and about to get his license, God help me. And I'm like a nervous mom, even though he's a perfect driver and so cautious. But anyways, he was 6 years old, sitting at a birthday party, looked down at his plate and said, "Mommy, do I have to eat this?" Mm-hmm. And it was cake. It was birthday cake. Wow. And he thought it was too sweet. And he'd rather have fruit because we'd been participating in a co-op in our house. And we had all these fruits and vegetables every week, and it just dramatically changed their eating habits. And so, working in a lot of underserved communities, putting clinics on the ground, I thought, well, what if we could do that in all these other neighborhoods and not just my house? And we came up with this formula to combine produce distribution, nutrition education with a fun food experience. We partnered with KIPP to be our first school to test it out. We wanted to go where kids already were going, and that was schools, community centers, after school programs. And I needed some research because I knew if we ever wanted to get funding, we needed to prove that it worked. And so I brought UT School of Public Health on board. My first food bank was the Houston Food Bank, also the largest in the country. I guess we do things big here in Houston, Texas.
Everything is bigger in Texas.
Everything is bigger, right, yes. In Texas, absolutely. And so we did all of that, and we launched with one school 10 years ago. And now we are in 7 cities, building 8 and 9 across the country. We've sent out close to 50 million pounds of produce. We expect to do 10 million pounds just this year. And we couldn't be more excited. So an interesting side note is I'm building Brighter Bites, and I come to meet the president of a big grocery company in Texas that probably many of you have heard of, called HEB.
Yeah, they're just a little something in Texas, right?
A little bitty bit.
Yeah.
And I guess we did $31 billion in revenue. And I met the president and I said, "I want to be your best friend." And he looks at me like I'm insane. And I said, "I want to build so much demand for fresh produce in lower income neighborhoods that you want to put stores on the ground there." And he looked at me and he said, "I don't want to help you to make money off you." And to which I responded, "That's called sustainability." And we both laughed. And then 2 years later, he just asked me to come work for him to run his real estate department to put stores on the ground.
Amazing.
And so I just was such a full circle moment. And now I've switched to running the company's public affairs for their Houston region. So I get to be a little HEB fairy and help the community, and not just in nutrition, but all the things that are, we need a little help with and leveling up our communities. So it's really a dream career for me. I never intended, I've never taken a salary from Brighter Bites, but what it's given back to me is immeasurable. And I just feel so grateful, and I'm just happy. The real gift is to me. I know we've helped a lot of
right.
people. And it's so exciting when I meet these parents and they're crying at the impact we've made on their lives. But the real gift is to me, and I'm grateful for that and all the people I've met like you along the way.
Well, thank you, Lisa. And just at a micro level, I had the privilege of experiencing that myself when I went and volunteered at one of your sites in Texas. It was also in the Houston area, and oh my goodness, you are right when you say that it really is a gift to everyone that's involved, whether you're a family receiving the Brighter Bites produce bags, or you are involved in the supply chain that makes it happen, or a volunteer with boots on the ground on a distribution day. So let's talk a little bit more about Brighter Bites from an operational perspective. Walk our listeners through what Brighter Bites is and how the program works.
So, as I said briefly, our formula looks like this. It's produce distribution, nutrition education, and a fun food experience. So let me tell you what that means. The produce distribution looks like 50 servings of fresh fruits and vegetables going home to families once a week for 16 weeks during the school year. 50 servings is about 25 pounds of produce. We try to do 8 to 12 different items. We like to maintain a lot of variety because we know from our data that if we don't keep it interesting and a lot of variety in the bags, we won't get parents to come. And who doesn't want to experience things like pomegranates and star fruits and kale and cherries? And so it's a real goal of us to do that for our families. So we, in pre-COVID times, we would get pallets delivered to schools, and we would have parent volunteers as well as community volunteers like what you did. And we would have them bag the produce for us, specified amount, like I said. And then even those volunteering events would create community amongst the schools. The parents would pick up their children from school and they'd go home with 2 fresh bags brimming with produce. We would teach the kids in the classroom through training their teachers in the Catch Education Nutrition Program. And so they would teach those classroom lessons after they were trained by us. And then the parents would get nutrition tip sheets, handbooks, recipes, and now they have the option of getting that online on their phone on the app. Mm-hmm. Everything went digital during COVID, and the bags turned into boxes that were pre-made at a produce distributor of the city, mm-hmm. in the city that we're in, just so we could maintain it without the volunteers in the schools, but they still got the same amounts. And then the fun food experience is a sample like you might get at your favorite grocery store, like H-E-B, so they could taste something that was in the bag that was unique. So let's say we gave out kale, and it could be a kale smoothie or a pear pomegranate salad. And we like to say that we're demystifying produce. We're showing you how to use it. And then we're also showing you that, guess what? It actually tastes good if you prepare it the right way. And your kids are going to like it too. So it's this kind of cost influence that's really quite incredible to see happen between the family members and the results.
It's absolutely magic. I mean, what it has done for not, and one thing when I was volunteering that day in Texas, something that was said time and time again, whether it was from the volunteers, the school personnel, others, your mission of building those communities, you're doing exactly that, not just in the like the city community, but really within the school. You're getting parents into the school that maybe normally wouldn't have a whole lot of in-person contact with the school. So it was really profound to see just how far the impact went and how it went well beyond the community of fresh food. It was strengthening the school community. It was strengthening the neighborhoods where these folks live. And from the point of view from the produce industry, you've strengthened our industry community too. So it's so many people are winning through this. It's really quite inspiring, but let's talk about your growth. So when did this all start, Lisa? When did you actually formalize and when was Brighter Bites founded?
So we started working on it in 2011. Shrila Sharma, professor of epidemiologist at UT School of Public Health, she came on as the co-founder, and together we started building it. We went to the school and they said, great, we'll give you a school. You can start next year. And we got some seed funding from Blue Cross Blue Shield of Texas. We weren't even a nonprofit then, so we were working under the guise of Texas Children's Hospital at the time, and they were happily supporting us. It was really quite incredible. And we worked through operationalizing this formula that I came up with. Honestly, I came up with it sitting at a Houston Texans football game. Because, everybody sits and talks about how to change the world at a football game, but I guess I'm a little different than most people. And so Srila, without her expertise on how to actually build programs, run programs, get the community engaged, it really never would have happened. So she is my right hand and like a sister, a best friend to me now, because we have spent the last 10 years since 2011. We launched in the fall of 2012 in our first school. And oh my gosh, it was really something, Lori. We had this one school and we literally would be out there every week, this core team of me, my friends, UT School of Public Health. We'd be culling plums. We'd be, bagging the stuff up, begging the kids to drink kale smoothies. I laugh because one kid one time was like, "Can I lick the tray?" Because we didn't have any samples left. Aww. And I was like, okay, we've come a very, very far way.
Yes, I would say so.
It really started back then like that. And it was so grassroots. It was so mom and pop. I had no background in nutrition. Fortunately, that's what Srila does in her real day job. But I was really passionate about produce. And I knew just from my own health that how much it could change your life to increase produce in your life.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just that simple. Everybody thinks that all the answers to health and diet and all of these things are just really complicated. But if we get back to basics, and I always say we just eat the good to crowd out the bad. If you just give yourself all this good food, it crowds out the bad food, and you just can watch your health problems dissipate. So anyways, I'm getting a little bit tangential.
No, you're not. It's wonderful. I love your passion, and you're spot on with what you're saying. Fruits and vegetables are the foundation of a better life. 100%. All roads to wellness lead right to the produce department. So I'm with you. I believe in everything you're saying. But so 2012 is when it really, really kicked off. And where are you today? That was one area. Houston, correct? Was where you were?
That was, yes.
Okay.
We're in one school in Houston, Texas. Today, this year, we'll be in 138 schools. We'll serve about 34,000 families.
Amazing.
We expect to deliver over 10 million pounds of produce, about 40,000 nutrition education lessons, almost 80,000 produce activities with the teachers and the families. And we exist in Houston, Dallas, Austin, New York City, Washington, D.C., Southwest Florida, Salinas, California, as well as we'll launch LA next month. Yay. Wonderful. And then Bakersfield, California after that.
Wonderful. Good. And Rich knows this. I've been trying to tell him we got to get this to Indianapolis, my hometown. I know that scaling is, you need funding, you need distribution partners, you need participatory schools. But I also know that scaling Brighter Bites to other cities and scaling the operations in the cities where they already are active is definitely a top priority.
Yes. We have this replicable model. We've been doing this in 7, now we're building 8 and 9 cities, and we have data from all of those cities that is consistent, that this is changing lives, that families are eating more produce during the program, and that's great, but we're giving it to them, but they're maintaining the levels. Even 2 years later, they're eating 19 more servings of produce a week.
Wow.
Which, if that is scaled, that could have a huge impact on the produce industry, because at baseline, these families really are eating so little produce that they tell us they're not shopping that part of the grocery store because they're intimidated by it. Because, when you have to watch every dollar matters, and you don't want to waste it on something that's going to go bad because you don't know what to do with it. Right. And so it's really important that we teach people. And, there's a big debates going on about food deserts out there. It's interesting because there are many neighborhoods in Houston that are considered a food desert. And I'm not saying it's not important to put more grocery stores on the ground. Of course, I would love to do that. But if you don't teach people how to use the product, they're not going to buy it. They're not going to eat it. You really have to put the education component with the access.
100%.
And so I think that's the real key here.
Yeah, 100%. Education is a primary means to increasing the consumption of fresh produce. 100%, Lisa. So this is, I mean, it's been really phenomenal growth. You went from one school to 10 million pounds of fresh produce on an annual basis. And that number just continues to rise and grow really each and every day. An organization like yours, obviously, you're a force for good, no questions asked. You're a non-for-profit. You got to have, like every entity, every business, every charity, you have to have funding. And right now, actually today, on the day we're recording, is the day you guys kicked off your big new fundraising campaign, correct?
Yes. What good timing. You always have a way with that, Lori. I love that.
Yeah. So tell everyone about it. Tell everyone about how they can get involved and really what you've been able to accomplish with previous, campaigns and fundraising efforts.
Yeah, so the new campaign is called Brighter Minds Start with Brighter Bites, which is a cute name that really, I think, echoes everything we've been talking about today, right? Because we want kids as healthy as possible so they can learn, they can live vibrant, bright, healthy lives. And so we know that the more people that we can get produce into their hands, that the more they will be able to succeed in life. And that's really exciting. And anyway, so we launched this campaign. As I was saying, we have this replicable model, and we can launch anywhere with the tools that you said. We need funding, we need a distribution partner, we need schools, and it's kind of that simple. And we can do this and have the same results. So the more money we can earn and raise, the more money that the more children that we can help. And it's really not just children, it's really the whole family, right? Because the food is going home rather than just doing a lesson in the school. It's impacting the last mile and the whole family. So Brighter Minds Start with Brighter Bites. You can go to our website, brighterbites.org. There is a big banner at the top, and you can click on it and give. We'll be running social media campaigns off of our Facebook and Instagram accounts. And there's, every amount matters. Of course, right. We love large donations, but a lot of what we're trying to do with this campaign is really encourage anyone to give, no matter how small it is, because we, as well known as we think we are, we know that we've only scratched the surface in people knowing who Brighter Bites is. And, given how much impact we're making, how much impact we want to make with expansion, we need a lot of friends on board. And so we just invite you to become our friend and make any donation that you're comfortable with so we can provide more fruits and vegetables across the country.
I love that. It is so important. We look forward to supporting it, here at the Produce Moms, and for all of my employees, I offered a match program. So we're really,
Lori, that's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, really, really excited about our ability to give. It's not always easy for a bootstrapping entrepreneur to give money. Sometimes our hearts are full, but our bank accounts are empty. And I know I'm not alone with that. I mean, so for those of you that are like, gosh, I love what I'm hearing from Lisa, I really believe in this program, right now might not be the time for you to do a donation. We understand that. You can really be a good steward to this cause. You can get involved with this movement simply by doing things like engaging with Brighter Bites online, telling your friends about what they're doing, sharing what they're posting on social media. All of those things really matter and help, especially for a non-for-profit that needs this critical funding to expand, because what they offer is so good. There is no model like this in fresh produce. Trust me, we've had all sorts of programs that have tried, and Brighter Bites is a comprehensive model that brings forward, yes, the education piece, yes, the food access piece, but really that validating data is what closes the loop. So it's a very unique model, and I'm so proud of the produce industry and the many people who have come together to rally behind this organization. It's important that we all get involved at whatever capacity we can. So Lisa, with that, I want to thank you for coming back. You're absolutely the best. I'm a huge fan of what the whole team at Brighter Bites is doing. You have our full support. You get the final words today. So any closing remarks you might have, but my goodness, just very, very grateful for what you do and for who you are.
Well, I'm sitting here just saying I am part of the Mutual Admiration Society with you, Lori, because thank you for all of these kind words. But what you're doing to make produce accessible through your podcast for people to understand it better, to get engaged with it more, is going to lead to a lot of brighter lives as well as giving us a platform. And I will say every mention matters, especially with someone like you that has a large following. Our CEO is a man named Rich Dackman, who was in the produce business for years. Most of his career was Cisco Foods. And honestly, the way I met him was because he read an article that the president of the Houston Food Bank wrote about us in our Houston Chronicle, our local paper. And he cold called me and said, "What are you doing? I've never seen this in the produce industry," like you just said, Lori. And he said, "I want to learn more." And not only did it get Cisco, the largest buyer of produce in the country, on board with us. At the time he was there, when he was ready to retire, he came to run Brighter Bites and just changed the entire trajectory of the organization by introducing us to the produce industry. So that was one, introduction, because someone in the press like you decided to talk about us. So I want to say thank you. This is our labor of love. We don't feel like it's work, because how can you if we're helping so many people? And I'm inspired every day because I've got 80 staff people working for me that are the most incredibly bright employees you could ever imagine, that just want to treat our families with dignity and compassion to help them live better lives through fresh produce. And the fact that through our campaign, through our friends like you, that we have the opportunity to keep expanding to more cities to help more people is just incredible. So thank you for this time. We're so excited. We love being your friend. We love being your partner. And we hope that because of this podcast, we'll gain some more friends along the way. So to that, I just say, have an awesome week. Have an awesome day. And thanks for having me on when we kick off this very meaningful campaign.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Produce Moms Podcast. If you or someone you know would like to be a featured guest, just send an email to lori@theproducemoms.com. We know there is a produce mom in you because there's a produce mom in all of us. Join our community on Facebook and all social platforms. Help us change the way America eats. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.